Okay, this is the NXT Takeover London recap and review. Just ended about, give or take, 5 or 6 minutes ago. But of course, before that, obviously, I have to address what happened on Raw this week with Roman Reigns winning the championship. Uh, I wonder what this does for the Rumble. Obviously, I don't think Roman Reigns is going to lose the title and then win the Rumble in the same night. And the plans are still, I believe, that Roman Reigns is going to headline WrestleMania again. So, does that mean, say, Brock Lesnar wins the Rumble? Does John Cena win the Rumble? And then we have a passing the torch moment at WrestleMania 32? Who knows? But anyway, on to NXT TakeOver London. I'm going to try to make this as quick as I can because I don't know when I'll actually be able to publish this. I have a dinner engagement tonight. Anyway, the show proper. NXT TakeOver London. Again. Our first match is Asuka versus Emma. And for an opening match, boy, this was a heck of an opening match. Early on, Asuka went for an early roundhouse, but Emma just dodged out of the way. And it was followed up by a series of dueling hammerlocks, both Emma and Asuka putting each other in them. Asuka countered an Emma clothesline into an armbar. Asuka hit a running hip attack off of the ring apron. Emma began to rally back a little bit and locked Asuka into a modified surfboard. Emma then began whipping Asuka back and forth between the turnbuckles. Asuka eventually countered one of those whips into a drop kick off of the second rope. Emma managed to lock on the dilemma and the tarantula hold, as I always called it, and then hit a suplex into the turnbuckle. Emma then hit the Emma-mite sandwich for a 2 count. Emma went for the STF, her hold finisher, and Asuka countered that into an ankle lock. Asuka then tried to go for the Asuka lock, but Emma backed both of them into the ref. It's at this point that Dana Brooke, who was at ringside, threw, I believe it was a belt. It looked like a belt because it had a big buckle on it at the end of it, into the ring, and they were going to... It's at this point that Emma and Asuka started fighting over the belt, the actual belt, not a title belt, and Asuka ripped it out of Emma's hands. At this point, the ref came to, saw Asuka holding the belt, started saying, hey, you can't use that, you can't use that. She's like, I'm not going to use it, I wasn't trying to use it. And in the midst of this, let's see, Emma went for a roll-up. Asuka countered that and locked on the Asuka lock, the chicken wing. But that was when Dana began to distract the ref. Emma actually tapped out. Asuka let the hold go, got up and tried to get the ref's attention. It's at this point, Emma charged with a running clothesline to try to get Asuka again. Asuka just immediately spun around and roundhoused Emma. Covered for the 3. Asuka wins. Excuse me. Like I said, there was a lot of action in this match. It was really fast-paced, high energy, got the crowd going, so it was a great match. Anyway, on to our second match, which is the NXT Tag Team Championship match. Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy versus Dash and Dawson. This was a really slow match. A lot of the same things. Early on, Enzo hit Dash with a face plant and tagged in Big Cass. Dash and Dawson then managed to isolate Cass for a while. Cass tagged Enzo back in. And then they'd hit an air Enzo to the outside of the ring, but that kind of injured Enzo's arm, and Dash and Dawson began to isolate that. Dawson hit a big slingshot suplex for a 2 count. At one point they tried to do a hot tag between both teams, but the ref somehow missed both tags. I've never seen that happen before. But in the midst of that, Dash and Dawson hit Enzo with a double gourd buster, but only got a 2 count out of it. Enzo hit a big DDT, and that got the hot tag to Cass. Dawson hit a big chop block on Cass's injured knee, and but eventually Cass rallied back. He hit the East River Crossing. He tags in Enzo for the air Enzo again. He hits the air Enzo. Enzo hits the air Enzo, and then, but before the ref could count 3, Dawson pulled Enzo out of the ring. Carmella tried to fight Dawson off, and in the midst of all that, Dawson got back into the ring, and he and Dash hit the buzzsaw off of the top rope onto Enzo, covered him for the 3 count. Dash and Dawson are still the tag team champions. Not really a big shock here. Dash and Dawson just won the belts a little over a month ago. NXT, they tend to have those really lengthy title reigns. They like doing that. So, and I don't think they've ever... I don't know if they're ever going to put the titles on Enzo and Cass, or if they'll just go up to the main roster or not. It's possible. And now we get to my one real grievance with the show, which is after this match, after the tag team match, they aired the vignette for the Nia Jax Bayley Women's Championship match. Well, our next match is Apollo Crews versus Baron Corbin. They aired the wrong vignette. Oh boy. Oops. And like I said, that's nothing against Apollo Crews or Baron Corbin. Yeah, it's just, I was expecting a women's championship match. I even, as you can see here, I wrote it down on my notes, and then I had to scribble it out. Ugh. That's a little aggravated. It's, left me feeling a bit perturbed, if you catch my drift. Anyway, Apollo Crews versus Baron Corbin. This was just a bit of a brawl early on. Apollo pushed Corbin back into the corner turnbuckle. Corbin then flipped Crews over the ring post. Crews landed on the ring steps. Crews tried to get back into the ring. Corbin countered his attempt at a sunset flip with a big punch. Apollo countered a follow-away slam into a small package. Outside of the ring, Apollo speared Corbin. Apollo hit a moonsault off of the ring apron. Corbin hit a spinning sidewalk slam for a 2 count. Corbin went for the end of days, but Apollo countered that into an enziguri. Apollo hit his standing moonsault for a 2 count. Apollo then went to try for his new powerbomb finisher. And Corbin managed to counter that into the end of days for a 3, and admittedly a bit of an upset. I guess now they're trying to groom Corbin for the next world title shot. They have been grooming Apollo Crews, I guess. Crews is saying, the next match I'm coming back after that belt because Corbin interrupted my world title match. So I guess it makes sense that, it would make sense that Apollo Crews would win this, but instead Baron Corbin won. So make of that what you will. Excuse me. And now we have the NXT Women's Championship match between Bayley and Nia Jax. Nia Jax was just dominant really early on. I mean, Bayley tried to be quick and sort of dodge a lot of Nia's early attacks. At one point, Nia hit a tilt-a-whirl shoulder breaker. Sorry. Nia then went for another tilt-a-whirl move, and Bayley countered that into a dragon sleeper. Bayley went onto the top rope and tried to lock on a key lock. Not on the top rope. Got slammed to the ground a couple of times. Tried to lock on a key lock, but Nia took that and countered it into a big Samoan drop. Nia went for a superplex, but Bayley countered and hit a swanton, got a 2 count. Nia then hit a bunch of Samoan drops and then followed up with a bunch of leg drops. Again, Bayley was just getting the crap beaten out of her. Nia just kept hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, but then only got a 2 count. She did a lot of very cocky pins with 1 foot, and it just wasn't working. Then Nia went for another superplex type move. Bayley countered it into a guillotine choke. Eventually, Nia worked out of the guillotine choke, just kind of hit Bayley with a spine buster to the ground. Nia started to go for a pin. Bayley locked on the guillotine choke again. Again, Nia slammed Bayley right into the ground. Nia goes for the pin a second time, and Bayley locks on a 3rd guillotine lock. This manages to drop Nia to the ground finally. Bayley just held on and held on and held on for all dear life, and eventually Nia Jax just tapped out. So Bayley retains the Women's Championship. Excuse me. And that leads us into the last match, the main event, the NXT Championship match between Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. Early on, Finn Balor hit a big drop kick, got Joe out of the ring, followed it up with another drop kick on the outside of the ring. Balor hit another drop kick, which sent Joe into the ring steps. Balor went for a coup de grace on the ring steps. Joe dodged out of the way, and then followed that up with an uranagi on the ring apron. Joe hit a splash, then an enziguri in the corner. Joe hit a running knee in the corner. Joe powerbombed Finn Balor for a 2 count. He then went for a Boston Crab. He then countered that into a crossface on Balor. Balor countered back and hit Joe with a big DDT and a flying forearm. Joe went for a top rope move, but Balor came up and hit him with an enziguri. Balor hit a double stomp onto a standing Joe and only got a 2 count. Balor countered an attempted muscle buster into a sunset flip and got another 2 count. Joe countered a Pele kick into the rear naked choke, but Balor reached the ropes. Joe managed to get Balor away again, lock on another rear naked choke. Balor countered that into an attempted pin. At that point, Balor went for another Pele kick, but Joe Balor countered that and hit another standing double stomp. Balor then hit 3 corner drop kicks. Joe went for the coup de grace, but Joe countered the coup de grace, went into a superplex. It's at this point that Balor was able to knock Joe off of the top rope, hit the coup de grace, get the 3. Finn Balor retains the belt. Retains the championship, sorry. And that's how the show ended. They listed as it was going to be 2.5 hours long. It was not. It was only 2 hours. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. All for having as tight a wrestling show as possible. The main event, great match. The women's match, very good match. Not quite. I mean, there's only so much you could do with one person beats up the other person for most of it, and then the underdog rallies just enough to win the match. And it was pretty basic. I guess the other big thing is Sami Zayn will be returning next week. That and in the aftermath of the match, Balor looked like he might have been concussed. He was a little woozy towards the end of it. Yeah, but they were celebrating. The show ended. There were no run-ins. No one jumped him. So that was about it. Okay, so like I said, I kind of have a dinner engagement tonight. It's sort of a pre-birthday thing. My birthday's on Friday. Kind of already know one of the presents I'm getting. Don't know if I'm getting it necessarily for birthday or for Christmas, but I had to help the person order it, but that's beside the point. Next video will be on Monday, which will be the Neozoic Random Trade Review. Probably will do kind of a year-end wrap-up vlog at some point between Christmas and New Year's. Gonna have some announcements for that. Anyway, see you on Monday.